Good evening. The family of a Birmingham man who died after he was given someone else's prescription say it was a basic mistake which should never have happened. 83-year-old Edlie Masters should have had paracetamol delivered to his house in August this year. Instead, he ended up taking drugs which reacted badly with his other medicines. He died a few days later. Here's our health correspondent, Michele Paduano.
This is Edlie Masters the day after he was given a blood pressure drug, verapamil, instead of paracetamol. His kidneys couldn't deal with it. His pharmacist who delivered the prescription didn't check.
It was devastating. When we found out actually what had actually happened, you know, as my dad said, it was just a basic procedure which should have been followed, and it wasn't.
Mr Masters' family have been told that Edlie wasn't home when the normal delivery was made, so the pharmacist Matthew Hercombe later delivered to 3 patients. He quickly realised he'd made a mistake and came back, advising the 83-year-old that it wasn't serious.
He basically took it upon himself to think, well, I'm a doctor, basically. I'll make a decision, which is where the government are saying, yeah, pharmacists can make a decision now to say what patients can and can't have.
The pharmacist hadn't taken into full account that Mr Masters was already taking a blood pressure drug and suffering kidney failure. I tried to contact the pharmacist Matthew Hercombe 3 times, but he has declined to comment. The family recognised that he was trying to do Edlie a favour that night by delivering his medicines. The tragedy is he didn't follow the procedures that he himself had written for his pharmacy. Solicitors who attended the inquest in Birmingham say the coroner submitted a prevention of future deaths report to ensure that the pharmacy was safe.
It just highlights the importance, especially working in the medical profession, that basic procedures are followed, because the consequences otherwise could be catastrophic, like a death that's occurred here.
The chemist has referred himself to his governing body, the General Pharmaceutical Council. The family is coping with Christmas without Grandad. Michele Paduano, BBC Midlands Today.
Dr Anthony Cox is a lecturer in clinical pharmacy at the University of Birmingham and joins me now. Good evening. Good evening. This clearly is a very tragic case, but how could it have happened?
Well, first let me express my condolences to the family. This is a real tragedy. There are procedures within pharmacies when giving out medicines to patients or delivering them, to check that the address and the name of the patient is correct, and those are really important procedures. So I think we should be reassured that in general those procedures will be in place in all the pharmacies that patients may visit. However, obviously, occasionally there are errors with medications. So medications are a known problem within the NHS, and there are attempts to try and learn from these events so we can prevent them in the future. And I think that's where we should really focus.
So how common is this kind of mistake, do you believe?
This particular type of mistake, I would hope, would not be too common. It's pharmacists that I train myself, they're taught early about the importance of getting the right drug to the right patient at the right time. It's a procedure that's in place at all pharmacies, from undergraduate days through to pre-registration to when they're fully trained professional. Pharmacists do this.
But it is worrying for patients, isn't it? Because increasingly we're told there's a huge burden on GPs and on A&E. Go to your local pharmacist. There's a bit of a trust issue here, isn't there? It could be quite damaging to the trust between patient and pharmacist.
Yes. Obviously, in this case, it's extremely damaging to trust. These sorts of incidents do occur with all professions, and all professions working together to try and reduce the rate of medication errors, be it from dispensing or prescribing or administration of medicines in hospital. We do have a system called the National Learning and Reporting System to report such errors, and there are systems where we can try and learn and then feed back to practitioners to make sure that these types of errors never happen again.
And just finally, briefly, if you would, is there anything that patients can do to prevent this kind of error happening?
I think as a patient you should be informed, you should speak to your pharmacist, you should check the medication you have, and if there's something you're concerned about, you should speak to them and raise it as an issue. Have an open relationship of trust where you can speak on equal terms.
OK.
Thank you.
Dr Anthony Cox, thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
A couple from Walsall have